Hi, my name is Jenny Wood. I am doing my final project for Culinary 142 class, cooking science. So for the final project, for my protein, we're gonna smoke a pork butt. For the sauce, I'm doing two sauces. Actually, I'm gonna make barbecue sauce, homemade barbecue sauce, and I'm going to make homemade macaroni and cheese that starts with a roux base. So we'll have some reduction thickening and some roux thickening. And then we're gonna make coleslaw, which is an uncooked vegetable with a sauce on it. And then we are going to make corn on the cob, which is going to be a roasted vegetable on the grill.
For this meal, we will be using the grill and the stovetop to prepare our dishes. We will do a long, slow cook on the pellet grill that is set at 220 degrees Fahrenheit. We will be using an indirect heating method, which utilizes a radiant heat process as well as a convection heat process. Cooking on a stovetop uses the conduction heat method. We will be cooking the barbecue sauce and the macaroni and cheese using this method. All food is made up of carbohydrates, water, protein, and fats. Browning occurs because these molecules react to the energy in the heat. When the sugars caramelize and the carbohydrates burn, the food turns brown, which gives it a sweet caramel-like flavor. The amino acids in meat react to this process because of their similarities to carbohydrates. This interaction gives us more savory, meaty flavors and deep red to black color. This is called the Maillard reaction. Meat is made up of water, protein, fat, and connective tissue. The protein is laid out in very long, thin fibers that hold on to water and fat. When cooked, the fat melts and lubricates the fibers as they squeeze together, forcing out the water. This results in chewable, tender meat that has delicious flavor caused by the melting fat. When meat is cooked over low heat for very long periods, the meat slowly reaches 160 degrees, converting the collagen to gelatin, which makes it buttery and delicious. By cooking at a lower temperature, we can ensure that the inside of the meat will be slowly cooked so that the desired temperature and level of doneness can be reached. When smoking a large piece of meat like this 8-pound pork butt, it will experience a stall when the temperature reaches approximately 160 degrees Fahrenheit. This stall is caused by the evaporative cooling method. Much like when you or I sweat, the water molecules will evaporate out of the meat, but because the temperature in the grill is not much more than the temperature of the meat, it will prevent any further increase in temperature until all of the water has evaporated off, which can take anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, depending on the conditions and the meat. Our pork butt took 8 hours to come out of the stall, making this meat require 24 hours of smoking to reach the desired temperature. A marinade contains oil, water, acid, salt, and flavor. The acid and salt lower the pH of the meat's surface, which weakens hydrogen bonds, denaturing the proteins. This only affects the surface of the meat. Rather than marinating, I am coating the meat in mustard, seasonings, and large flakes salt, which will act like a marinade as it smokes, adding flavor as well as aiding in the final texture of the meat. As the meat cooks, the smoke will penetrate the surface, leaving a pink ring. This ring is created when the carbon monoxide and nitric oxide gases from the smoking wood react with the myoglobin in the meat, preserving the meat's red color even though it is fully cooked. A good thick ring means that there was a good amount of smoke. The barbecue sauce that I make is a sauce that I developed myself about 20 years ago. It's been a family favorite ever since. Reduction is the evaporation of the water causing concentration of the proteins which cause it to thicken. An emulsion uses an emulsifier to hold on to both the water and the fat molecules, allowing them to combine and thicken the sauce. The barbecue sauce that I make is a reduction thickened sauce. Tomato sauce, water, apple cider vinegar, and sweeteners and seasonings are added, then cooked down to create a thick sauce. You can really see here how thin it was when it started and then how thick it got at the end. The macaroni and cheese will be a starch thickened sauce. Butter is melted in the pot, then flour is added to the melted butter to form a roux. Milk is then added to the roux to create a thick sauce called a bechamel. Then cheese is added, turning it into a cheese sauce that will get mixed into cooked noodles. Macaroni and cheese is a milk-based dish. The sauce contains 2.5 cups of 2% milk and about 400 grams of cheese, including sharp cheddar, Gouda, Parmesan, and mozzarella. Microscopic fat globules and protein bundles in milk are just large enough to reflect light, giving it its white color and opacity due to the salt, sugars, proteins, and vitamins that are suspended in the liquid. Milk is slightly acidic, which affects the behavior of the proteins. Each flat globule is encased in its own membrane, which keeps them separate from each other and aids in the emulsion of the fat and the water that serves as the base of the milk. When making the roux, the fat in the butter coats the starch granules in the flour and prevents them from clumping. When the milk is added to the roux and is heated, it thickens through a process called starch gelatinization. The starch granules absorb the liquid and swell up, thickening the sauce. When the cheese is added, the proteins within it hold on to the fats from the butter and cheese and the water that is in the milk and forms an emulsion, resulting in a thick, creamy sauce for the pasta. Cheese is also a dairy product created by introducing starter cultures, or beneficial bacteria, to the milk, which ferment the lactose, creating lactic acid. Acid causes the casein to clump up into a solid mass, while the whey proteins remain suspended in the liquid. Heat causes the fat globules to strengthen their bonds, resulting in sturdy coagulation. We commonly call this yogurt. Enzymes called rennet can be added to the yogurt mixture to form curds, which when packed together and are aged, make cheese. Some cheeses are aged longer than others to produce a variety of flavors within the cheeses. In my dish, the sharp cheddar, Parmesan, and Gouda are all aged for 12 months, while the mozzarella is a fresh cheese and typically is not aged at all. It is also a very mild flavored dish that is lost when it's paired with the much stronger flavored aged cheeses. It was added in for its creaminess. On my coleslaw, the dressing is an emulsion made with a mayonnaise base. Apple cider vinegar and pineapple juice are the liquid ingredients, along with sugar and spices, are all whisked together to form a sauce to go on the coleslaw. The cell walls in the vegetables provide structural support. Cells are filled with a large watery vacuole, which can fill up to 90% of the cell volume and contain enzymes, sugars, acids, proteins, water-soluble pigments, and waste or defensive compounds. The cell wall provides the structure to hold the vacuole and adds structure to the body of the vegetable. Some vegetables have very strong cell walls that continue adding strength even after death, which, along with the absence or presence of starch granules and the fullness of the vacuole, give vegetables their texture. If an acid is present, it will help the vegetable retain its crisp texture because hemicelluloses are not very soluble in acid conditions. Cooking in dry conditions, like on a grill, will evaporate the water, shrinking the cell, but it will not degrade the cell wall, leaving the vegetable soft on the inside, but still maintain its shape and a bit of crispness even after long periods. While grilling, the corn needs to be wrapped in foil or the husk to prevent it from losing too much of the moisture. I wrap mine in foil with a bit of butter and some ice cubes to add steam to the cooking process, which results in tender, moist corn kernels rather than dried, shriveled corn kernels. We put our corn on the bottom rack, but it is still on indirect heat. You can clearly see how dark the meat has gotten from the Maillard reaction as it came off the grill. While shredding, you can tell that the smoke penetrated very nicely, as it has a very, very nice smoke ring with a lot of good pink color. The meat is still done. That's just the smoke ring that we're seeing. You can also see that it is juicy and tender, thanks to all of that fat that melted, coating those long fibers that you see. Our corn was crisp, sweet, and juicy thanks to the thick cellular wall and the browning reaction that converted the carbohydrates to sugars. The macaroni and cheese was thick and cheesy because of the starch thickening and the aged cheeses. And due to the acid in the slaw, it was a crisp complement to our sweet reduction thickened sauce. Science and culinary skills came together to create this delicious meal for my family.